the amount of extra attention and general double teams and getting the defense to commit that Devin Booker has been seeing over the last 3 games and really on the season as a whole it's just been amazing as an advantage for the Suns to play out of. It's something that he's been seeing a lot more consistently as his game continues to grow. And for a player that is much maligned for an instance that came up a handful of years ago in summer basketball, just playing in open gyms where he was complaining about seeing double teams all season and not being able to get his work in the open gym during the summer. To see the growth and mindset that's come from that moment to where he is now and not complaining about it, rather accepting it for the advantage that it is and manipulating it to create and generate a high shot quality for his teammates and sometimes even beating it for himself. It's been a fun transformation and evolution within his game. So I want to just break down a couple of clips in addition to what's been shown in my written words that are going to be posted shortly as well, just to kind of pinpoint and highlight some of the growth that he's making in terms of his processing and his abilities to make out of that even more so. First play here, we're going to see him just working in the half court, and we're going to see him get into a nasty in and out dribble, but we're going to go back and look at it even more in detail as, first of all, it's a great screen from Eubanks to give him enough separation, but we're going to slow it down and look at Devin Booker specifically because this in and out dribble is not just the fact that it's nasty and really highlights his handle, but look at how JaVale McGee is closing the airspace to take away the attempt to split this and try to keep him to the outer third of the floor as he's being kept to his weak hand on the outer third of the floor. Or excuse me, this is ice rather right here, where they're keeping him to his right hand, his strong hand on the outer third of the floor. They want to try to keep him pinned to the sideline as much as possible. The threat of this split here, and knowing that and seeing this from JaVale McGee and Devin Booker getting into this in and out dribble, really threatening to see the weight and force the weight to be shifted to that inside leg from JaVale McGee, and for Devin Booker to manipulate that and then break the leverage and then get around that and not just do so, but to also, in addition to everything else, again in real time, having his head up, playing with his eyes, and manipulating the 2 versus 3 advantage is going to come from him breaking leverage on that outer third of the floor. And seeing him ultimately, again, manipulate with his eyes, as you see Malik Monk here on the backside, having to split 2, as we see the low defender stepping up to put the fire out. This is just that walking advantage that Devin Booker is. He gets the advantage in putting 2 to the ball out high on the floor, able to then break leverage and then get underneath that layer of defense and then threaten the bottom layer and an advantage, this time with the live dribble and getting downhill towards the basket. He has a litany of options here. You can get into a floater. He could kick this over the top to Jordan Goodwin, at the top of the key, who's been knocking down 3-pointers, or he could do what he does here and hit Chimezie Metu on his perfectly timed baseline cut to follow his defender, the low man, who's stepping in to put the fire out. And this is all just well synchronized, great timing, and just ultimately great processing from Devin Booker. And then we're just going to see it kind of flow through and finish off the play with a little bit of flair. Next rep, we're going to see a little bit more of the same against the Sacramento Kings. So here, we see them getting into this action from inside out. So this is a context that's going to be used more with Nurkic involved in action, specifically with Devin Booker. So we see them coming from baseline out of bounds during the middle of the shot clock, getting towards the late portion of it. And we see this quick pitch from inside out to Nurkic. And by nature of the action starting inside out and from underneath the defense that's out high on Devin Booker, the leverage is going to be advantageous for the Suns to play into. So Nurkic gets the pitch. Devin Booker obviously going the opposite direction of where Nurkic is coming from with his screen, gives him leverage as one of the better screeners in the NBA to pry him open. In addition to that, we're going to watch Devin Booker's process as he comes off of this. So again, he's patient, and these extra dribbles, not retreating in terms of going back towards the half-court line, but rather going horizontally to stretch the defense from sideline to sideline here, is what's really going to exacerbate the advantage that is him ultimately getting to the ball. We see just that here, and that extra dribble here as he change speeds, decelerates, and then pulls the attention back towards him, again inviting of the double team, is going to then see him fake the high pass with his eyes. That's going to get Sabonis in the air, and then fundamentally is going to break the double team by going low with the bounce pass after the fake And you see the reaction there. And now look at the advantage as Nurkic catches the ball. It's a 4 versus 3 underneath that layer of defense that's putting 2 to the ball on Devin Booker, to which Nurkic is going to be one of the best playmakers in time and time again. And we're going to see yet another cut from the player who was defended by the low man here to finish it off, who is now Keita Diop. His man leaves to help step over to put the fire out. Now Kevin Huerter is going to be forced to play 2 on the backside. He stays high. Nurkic engages that low defender. And KBD perfectly times this burn cut on the baseline to get this oop. Just, again, great advantage play from the Suns. Next right here, we're going to see a little bit of a different look from the Kings now. They gave Devin Booker a boxing one look in the second half of this game from last week against the Kings. And here we're going to see initially, as you can see in the bottom block, the block on the right side of the floor here, we're going to see a little bit of confusion here from the Kings. As you can see, some points into where this defender is supposed to be stepping up at, and ultimately he's going to get there, and it's going to be a little late. Nonetheless, it's just going to add to what the advantages that Devin Booker brings with his drives and his ability to just attract the attention of multiple defenders. We see as they get into their ultimate alignment of the boxing one, as Devin Booker rejects the double screen up high, he attracts the attention of 2, and then guess who's going to be wide open in addition to Trey Lyles, who is the lowest defender here, being cemented to the block. And this is a little bit of overhelp from the Kings, but it's all, again, coming from the attention that Devin Booker garners. Attracting all that attention, gets it over to a wide open Eric Gordon, who's one of the best catch and shoot three-point shooters in the NBA. He's made a living off of it, and he knocks that down. And then here we're going to see a little bit more of the same, this time against the Golden State Warriors. So we're going to see the screen here, him calling over for the the guard screen, which is something the Suns have been getting into a little bit more with both him and Kevin Durant, and even Bradley Beal at times, late in games and late at the end of quarters. So we see them setting a small screen with Jordan Goodwin. That's ultimately going to see a little bit of a switch, a little bit of 2 to the ball, but we're going to look past that initial layer, and we're going to pay attention to Klay Thompson, who's at the nail here. This is going to be where you're seeing the defense commit, as it's not just the 2 on the ball, the 2 up high, but it's also this next layer that's conceding this look here to Chimezie Metu. As you can see, Klay Thompson holding his positioning to try to take away and deter the look of a threat of a drive here from Devin Booker, just playing heavy in the gaps and playing inside out defensively. Devin Booker processes that past the initial layer, sees it, gets it to Metu as he lifts up from the corner at an advantageous point. And again, one of the Suns' better three-point shooters is going to get an open look. And again, he's knocking down 50% of his 2-ish three-point attempts off of catch and shoots over the last 3 games, a space that they need him to play in, and he's really nailing the margins for this team. And then this rep, again, because of the pressure from the Brooklyn Nets now, is going to see the Suns playing a little bit inside out. Ultimately, that's going to gain leverage for Devin Booker to threaten and then use the screen that's ultimately to come. And something that's important for this team, is I'm going to continue to watch for with Bradley Beal, is the way they can manipulate single-side tags. And that's exactly what we're going to see here. So they finally get the ball to Booker, middle of the shot clock. He's going to use the screen after threatening the initial leverage to also gain an advantage in angle for Metu on the screen. He ultimately just slips it because he knows that they're putting 2 to Devin Booker. And that slip is going to create pace within this action. And I mentioned at the top of this play, them creating single-side tags. That slip is going to pull in the only defender that's on the backside here, who's Royce O'Neal. Devin Booker, again, quick with his processing, attracts the 2 to the ball, gives a pump fake to engage them in terms of looking at the roller, in addition to pulling in and the opposite defender who's tagging here from the backside. And that's going to allow for him to then hit Bradley Beal, one of the better shooters in the NBA as a whole, but especially off of the catch and shoot, for an opportunity off the catch without much defensive pressure being applied on this closeout. And again, this gives him opportunity to either catch and shoot or catch and play off of a drive. And that single side tag is just too much ground to kind of cover for Bradley Beal off of this pass being well timed from Devin Booker. And Beal's going to knock down an important three-pointer here. Last rep here, we're going to pause it right at the beginning. Look at where Devin Booker's being double teamed. This is 90 feet from the basket. 90 feet from the basket here against the Brooklyn Nets. He's going to get off of it quick to Bradley Beal. And now look at the advantage that the Suns are going to be playing in with 3/4 of the court to play with now in terms of court real estate, and then the pace that's going to be generated as Bradley Beal gets into this pistol 5 action with the hand back here from Jusuf Nurkic. It's going to kind of let it run through, and you can see it at full speed. Look at the advantages created just from Devin Booker being on the floor. He sees some of the most ridiculous double teams in the NBA, and that just really speaks to his process in terms of inviting it, not complaining about it, and allowing for his teammates to play within the advantage. This is why it was so important for the Suns to better the context around the likes of him and Kevin Durant in terms of the attention they see and the players' abilities around them to play out of that. And ultimately, we see him on this play be the recipient of the attention that he's receiving as the play kind of plays out, and he's able to get it back as Bradley Beal gets into his drives, attracting all of the attention of the defense. The Suns read space, kick, skip, wide open Devin Booker 3. And again, by virtue of him not complaining, but inviting and accepting other double teams and processing well out of it, he nets himself a wide open 3. It's going to be fun to see, especially with the big 3 all on the floor at the same time, the volume of double teams that Devin Booker still continues to see, and even more so in the minutes where it's only one of the big 3 being him on the floor, or if he's on the floor with another one of the big 3, and seeing how defenses decide to play against that. Nonetheless, Devin Booker's in a great space going against the extra attention he's seeing, and the Suns are going to need the head of their snake to continue to process it well and be efficient in doing so the rest of the way.